Hi there, welcome back to the Board Game Specialists. I'm Carla.
And I'm Melanie.
And today we are talking about our top 20 to 11 games of all time. So exciting, these top 20. These are the
Right,
best
we're getting
games
into the good
ever.
stuff now.
Yes, in our opinion, best games ever. But before we do that, what have you been playing lately, Melanie?
Well, it looks like I've got a bit of a theme in the couple of games I've played lately. First one is I played Parks. I had purchased that, I think it was like on Boxing Day, and it came in, so I pulled it open and then played it with Lily. And she liked it. It was great. And it's like a hiking game about visiting the national parks of the United States, and then you kind of set up the trail. And then you kind of flip a weather card, and that will give you a pattern of what tokens gonna go on there. So it could be like sun, rain, rain, sun, rain, rain, or whatever, and then you just kind of fill in the trail with that pattern. And then each location will have a different action as well. So you're got two hikers each, and you're kind of going down this trail collecting these tokens. Now, first person there gets the actual token. The second person that would go on that site would get what the action on the tile is. Mind you, the first person would get to do both. And it's interesting because you can't go where somebody else is unless you have a campfire. But you only have one campfire and you can only spend it the one time. Then afterwards you can like, oh man, she's still there? That blocks me. Then okay, well I'll go ahead of her and do this. And you can't go backwards either. And you're trying to collect these tokens, and then when you kind of reach the end or reach a card that allows you to go and visit one of the national parks, you would spend these tokens you've accumulated to take the national park, and there'll be points worth to that. It's a neat game. It's fairly simple. It's fairly quick to play as well. Lily enjoyed it, so that was great. Second game we played was Summer Camp. This one was at Walmart for like $30,
awesome.
and yeah, so I was like, okay, I want to try this one. And first thing, this is a really simple game to learn and play. It takes no time at all. It's a deck building race game. So it's very straightforward. You have like the board at the top that just kind of holds the tokens. And one thing I got to say about too, like everything you need to know about the setup is on the board. Once you know what you need to do, you don't need to pull the book out. It says, okay, well, for 3 players, we need to do this. And then for 3 players, we put these tokens out, and everything is there. And then you have the base cards. That's going to be your lights out card, which is what most of your starting deck's going to have. And it's just like a light switch. This card does no action except that you can use it for 1 energy, which is what you spend to buy other cards. And then there's like 3 basic cards, and I'm trying to remember what they were called. I know like there's Free Times, and there's Scavenger Hunt, and then there's S'mores. And they have like 2, 3, and 4 for purchase cost, and they just do kind of different action. One will give you 2 energy. One will allow you to move on one of the trails, and one of them will allow you to discard cards to pick up new cards. And then you're going to pick 3 different category cards, and there's like 7, I think, that the game comes with, so you can change it up every time you play. And you can do like cooking and water sports and outdoor adventures. And then there's like games and crafts and like different topics like that. And each of those ones would have their own sets of badges as well. And underneath the top of the board, you have like these tiles that you're going to create a 3x3 with. And those are the path. It's going to create the path. And each of the 3 categories you're going to select is going to be represented along the one path. And I guess your hikers in this one as well. So you're going to have some cards that'll be like, okay, you can move your hiker 1 in the cooking path. So it'll be like, okay, so you move forward by 1. Now, some of the location will allow you to draw a card, or it will allow you to get it's called like a snack bar, which gives you extra energy you could spend at a later time. Or it'll allow you to move one of your other hikers. And it's a race game. So first person to make it past the first set of 3 on each, well, first 1 tile on each path gets to collect the badge for for that one, and that'd be like the participation badge. And the participation badge, like first one to go and pick one of those up, that badge is going to be worth more than the second and third. So you want to be early in earning these badge if you can, because they're more points. So you would get the badge if you made it past a second, and there's a bridge that indicates it. So if you make it all three of your hikers past a second, you would get the all-star or the camp all-star badge. And then if you make it all the way at the end of a single path, then you would get that top badge for this category. So maybe you get the top cooking badge and so on. The game ends when one player has collected all three badges at the end of the path, and then you kind of finished a round to the first player, and then you tally up your points. So the badges are worth points, but some of the cards you purchase as you go are going to be worth points as well. And all like the last 5 position before reaching the end of the path, depending on how close you get, are going to be worth points as well. It's really, really simple. It plays super quick, like 30 to 45 minutes at most. But it was neat. Like, I really enjoyed it. It says, for some reason, it says 10 and up, but I think you could play this with a younger audience too, if you wanted to, because it's not a complicated game at all. But it was neat.
Awesome. So I've kind of heard that it's like a beginner deck builder.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, like, it is deck builder. It's very pure deck building in that. And then it's just deck building to move these along. So
that's cool. Yeah, I love the theme on it too.
The artwork is gorgeous. It's like really cutesy.
Nice. All right, a couple I've been playing. One, I finally got Weather Machine to the table.
Nice.
Now, I was expecting so much, and then I had heard that one bad review, so then it kind of got put to underneath a bunch of things, because I'm like, the thought of learning a big, heavy game that I might not like just wasn't intriguing to me.
It just kind of dampened
It was like, oh. But then a friend learnt it, and was going to buy it, but now has changed her mind. And so now it is up for sale. I was not impressed with it. It's just weird. I love Vital Lacerda's games. I love usually how he incorporates the theme into the game, which teaches it, basically, the theme, because it just flows so well with his theme. It makes sense of what you're doing. Yeah. This, to me, it did not. And it was so fidgety. And so every turn we did, we basically had to go back to the rule book to make sure all the steps were correct. And you had to have this to do that kind of thing.
Oh, no, yeah.
And it's too bad, because the board is just beautiful. The whole game is beautiful. The art, Ian O'Toole did the art, and he did such a good job on the art. And I got the metal gears with it, which are so satisfying. They're all different colors and different shapes and heavy and chunky. And I've wanted to like this game so much, but we literally played, 5-6 turns each, and then that's it. We packed her up. We didn't want to waste 3 hours on this game, which was really sad. But yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess it's decisive, right? Like, if you start playing a game and you're like, I would rather stop than keep going.
If it was an hour-long game, we would have just finished it, whatever. But we're like, this is 3 hours of our gameplay that we might be literally reading the book the whole time, kind of thing. And you know what? It might be a game that once you've played it 2 or 3 times, then you really don't need to do that. But
so, like, Feast for Odin.
That one is way easier learned than this. It takes time, but if you enjoy what you're doing while you're doing it. Whereas this one, I don't know if it's just the point I'm at in my gaming career that I don't want to invest 3 hours times 10 in order to start enjoying a game.
Right. No, for sure,
I
right?
have so many to play and so many good ones that I like to play that, So
it's not like, well, we got these 5 games. Let's see if we can get to like this one. We don't have that problem.
Spend 30 hours and then what if I don't?
Yeah.
And, I just enjoy some of his other games so much and I had enjoyed them the first time I played them. So this gave me a really bad taste in my mouth. And I mean, I know there's lots of people who love this game or, have enjoyed it. So don't take my word for it, but that was my
might be one to try before you buy.
I think it's a try before you buy this one. It's
All
such
right.
an expensive game too.
Right.
But on the positive side, I played a couple of these little break-in games we have. Well, I have one, and my friend Cherry had another one. So I had the break-in to Alcatraz.
Oh,
which
right.
I lent to you, right?
Yes.
You should
That
give it
looks
a try.
intriguing.
Yeah. And then she had break into Area 51. And so they're these like octagon-ish boxes. I don't think, yeah, that one was octagon. The other one was a different shape. And so they have like this kind of shinier cardboard on the outside and like all these different walls and things. So instead of trying to break out of something, you're trying to break in, which is like just a reverse theme. But it's funny because the Alcatraz one, you are trying to help Al Capone, I believe, and all those couple of those guys get out. Or some other guys trying to get out of there. But you have to get in order to help them get out.
Nice.
So you go through a series of puzzles that you have to solve, and then it has these little strips of cardboard that will have shapes on the top, and so depending what puzzle you're doing, you'll have to use that shape, but then you're going to have to line up usually a color, a number, or a letter. Okay. And then there's little slots around this game, because you use the whole board, like you literally take the top off, and then the bottom and the whole box is the game. So then you'll stick these little strips in to see if you've got your answer correct. And then it'll give you another symbol, which you can flip a card, which will tell you like if you're correct, and then it'll get you to move on to the next puzzle. And then you will slowly be opening this. So I don't know if you've opened it yet, but if you
I kind of looked at see under the lid.
That you can start peeling things back. So you start peeling back the first layer, and then you open it, and there's like a whole other little thing going on in there. I don't want to spoil it. And then you got to go through puzzles, and then you'll start peeling back other things. So it's just like it's really satisfying to
It looks so good.
Keep peeling back this game. Some of the puzzles are, tricky. Some are really, well, I won't say easy, but some are just doable, and you can always get hints. So it's not like you're stuck there going, what the heck am I doing? It was just a really clever way of how they've done it. It is a mass market type game, but I think it
looks great. Is this one plays with an app, or? Because a lot of them do
stuff on the computer or on the phone. I don't think much.
Okay.
I don't think any, actually.
Okay, good.
I've been playing so many of these that I'm forgetting which ones use apps or websites or whatnot. No, I don't think it does. I think everything you need is in there. But yeah, it's quite neat. And we'd played with 3. I wouldn't play it with more than 4, because you're constantly needing to pass this around and look in and around and all these different things. But 2 would even be really good.
Yeah,
a good date night game. But they're quite neat and interesting. There's a little story that goes along with it, obviously, and it's kind of cute. There's also a break into Chichen Itzu, but I haven't seen that anywhere, and you can't. I think it's pretty much unavailable. But I'd like to try that one if I ever could find it. But
it looks so unique.
Yeah, they're just something different. Than your typical escape room type game or the board game. But yeah, so those are a couple I've been playing. But let's get into our top 20.
Yes.
All right. What is your number 20?
Yes, so top 20. This is getting really exciting. We get into the good stuff. And I was looking at my list this morning, just kind of getting it prepped. And I was like, oh, and then all of a sudden I have one that obviously stands out. So I'll see if you catch which one that is. Now, my number 20 is In the Hall of the Mountain King. This one is published in 2019. It's created by Jay Cormier and Graeme Johns. But, I had played it when it kind of had just came out. My friend had kickstarted it, and he brought it over, and we played it, and it was so neat. It was so interesting with creating your path into this kind of location, because you score every shape you put into it, but you score depending on what terrain you're building this on. So the closer you get to the middle, it's worth more points. And then this whole pyramid thing that you build for your resources is so interesting as well. Great game. And then we played it again when we did our game day, our girls' Christmas game day. And then that time we played it as team. And because I remember you were saying you were buying it, and I was like, oh, it was great. And I couldn't remember too much about it, but I remembered I really enjoyed it and got to play it again, and I really enjoyed it again. Obviously, if it made it all the way up to my number 20. It's just the whole game, the presence, the way that it looks. It's just a really fun, amazing game. So that's my number 20, In the Hall of the Mountain King.
Awesome. Yeah, that's such a good game. All right, my number 20 is London 2nd edition by Martin Wallace in 2017. 2017, I think, was the first edition, or maybe I should check if it was the remake at that point. Because it was like an older game, and then he remade it into what I think looks beautiful. I love the art and everything that he did on it, but I'll have a look. Oh, it's right here. This is the 2nd edition, so the 2nd edition was made in 2017. Yeah. The first, I believe, was quite earlier, but this is a really unique game as well. It doesn't feel like a lot of his other games. It is economical, but it's a different way, and it's played so differently. So it's basically a card game. The first version of this game had a map, and I think you moved around on the map, but in his second version, he just changed it all into cards. So on your turn, you can do a couple different things. You can, you always have to draw a card, but you can either choose to draw more cards, or you can play cards into your tableau. You can use an action card, which there aren't very many in the game, and those just go out of the game. So you play it and it's gone. But if you are playing a card in your tableau, you have to put the card down, and then you have to use another of the same color to pay for it, and then that will go onto the main board, which everybody can take then after. So building your tableau is what you're building your city, is what it's called. So as soon as you put these cards down, that pile will be there forever, and you will collect pollution. You'll collect pollution.
Oh, okay.
If you, maybe that's not even, I think that is the word, and then for every time you run your city, however many piles you have, you will collect that pollution and how much you have in your hand. It's such an interesting game because you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to build this big city, because these cards, you'll activate all those cards when you run the city. And some of the cards will give you money. Some will give you ways to get rid of your pollution. Some will have ways to give you other cards. Some will let you spend cards so that before the end, when you have to collect your pollution, that you can get rid of them. And it's a way to get rid of them, because sometimes it's really hard. You have a huge hand of cards and you're like, I want to run my city, but I don't want to collect all the stuff that's going to be involved in it. So it's just so neat. And it's a hard game to explain. Not a hard game to teach, because once it's out in front of people, makes a lot of sense. But it's so neat. Money is kind of tight. There are some take that cards where you'll play, and make somebody pay, and if they didn't have the money, they have to get a loan. And loans are kind of nasty in this game, which they usually are in Martin Wallace games. You usually don't want to take a loan. Some of his games you kind of have to, but this one, you're like, oh, I'll do whatever I can to not have to take one, because at the end you will suffer points for it. There's also the other thing you can do is, like I said, play action cards, and those can get different things going too. You have these poppers, which are just basically a card with a popper on it, and they are just kind of fill up your hand and do nothing for you, except when you're wanting to get rid of cards. Sometimes those are the ones you'll want to get rid of because you want to keep all the other ones in your hand. It's a very unique game, and I think everybody should just go out and have a look at a video on it. It's just so neat, and I feel like it's so underrated too, but I love it, and that's my number 20. London.
All right. My number 19 is another one that we had ended up playing on our girls' Christmas game day, and that's Alma Mater. I purchased it at a deep discount. I think I had paid $17 or something for it. Nice. And the components are amazing. Like, you get these little plastic books that you play with. The whole game, when you put it together, just looks so great. and I didn't say it's published in 2020. This took me by surprise. I thought this was an older game. Like you look at it, it looks like that, old style Euro almost. Like you're so like it just has that feel to it that I thought would be an older game, but it's fairly new. So it's 2020. It's created by Architoka, Flaminia Brasini, Virginio Gigli, Stefano Luperto, and Antonio Tinto. So there's a bunch of people involved with this one, but with this game, you're running a university and you're trying to enroll students and you're trying to recruit professors and have them do lectures and all these things. And like when you get the professors, or the professors, like the first one to kind of go and select one gets to set the book they're required to acquire them. And you're collecting these books from the dictionary books that are only available from the game, the board on the game. And then these other books are available from the other players. And then you're collecting these books to kind of acquire these different things. So you would get to select which books you would assign to the particular professor. So to be the first one to go, then you have control over that. The second one to go to get the same have to follow the pattern you created there. And then there's like a whole track on the side where you gotta try to build up. There's different things you gotta do each time trying to get to the next level. Of course, the higher you get, the more points it's gonna be. I would say this is worker placement because you have your workers, and then there's different things that you can add to your board as well that gives you extra things you can do also. I was really impressed with this one. I really enjoyed it. I think it's a longer game, definitely a heavier game from, I wouldn't compare this to summer camp for some reason. This is one extreme to the other, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't a game that was like overly complicated that it was really hard to learn or play. It's great. It's intuition. Like, it makes sense when you're playing the game, what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to do, but I really enjoy that. So that's my number 19, Alma Mater.
Yeah, that one's a really good one. This one was like a kind of a sequel to Coimbra. Have you ever played Coimbra?
Yeah. I haven't played Coimbra yet.
So that one's a good one too. It's a dice placement more so, but I liked it. This one, I think I preferred Alma Mater, but Alma Mater has gotten a really bad reviews from some people, which I don't get.
That's weird, right?
It's such a good game. You're really good at this game. I remember when we played, you were at one point and then we were kind of all back and then sort of all kind of together, but
I forgot. I don't remember that, but
when we played it,
maybe that's why I liked it.
Yeah. No, you did really good, and it was your first time playing, and I didn't think you were gonna like this game because
weird, eh? Well, it's not the games I talk about often because I always play with my family, right? We don't play these games with the kids,
so you don't get to play those Euros that often. But it's a good one. Good choice. All right, my number 9 is Rococo, the original was made in 2013. The remake deluxe copy that I have, it was made in 2020 by Matthias Kramer, Stefan Malz, and Lois Malz. And this one is such a neat game. I played the older version the first time at FallCon. It was one of the hosted games that I had been so excited to learn and you can never get your hands on a copy. They were ridiculously expensive because they were out of print. So we played this and learned it, and it was so neat. It's like a deck builder, but there's some area control and resource management. Like it's almost everything you want. There's not really worker placement. Well, no, not really, because it's deck building and then you'll do that action, which will be like different things that you're doing. But what the whole theme behind it is you are dressmakers and you're making these dresses for these royalty of at these balls, and then you're placing them in different rooms, which are the area control. You're going to try to like have the majority in different rooms. And then you also want to try and get the highest part on these like fireworks at the top, because then you can move your dresses up to that spot at the end for big points. There's different ways to get more income each round because you need money to to sponsor these like trophies and things, which also are in each room that can give you points. So there's all different types of ways to do that. You can hire more people. So you have like your apprentice, and then you have your journeyman, and then your master, like sewer, whatever. And so each of those people, like they'll have different colors of thimbles, like it's a bronze, a silver, and a gold. And so those can, each card that you play will be one of those, but they have different actions on them, and those can only do certain things. So you can't, like the master's the only one that can hire people. So you couldn't play one of your journeymen to hire someone. So you have to save that gold one to do that. But then you also can only manufacture some of these top dresses as a master. But some of the journeymen can do other dresses. And so you have to acquire thread and lace and different things. And it's such a neat game. And it's so funny because a lot of men, like, I mean, this theme would not draw them to it, but they have heard how good the mechanics are in this game. So they've played it and they love it. And I mean, I don't see any reviews that ever come off bad from this game. It's so good. And the mechanics are so neat. The deluxe version is beautiful. It's such a fun game to play. I would play it anytime. And that's my number 9, Rococo. Nice.
Number 19.
Perfect.
It? No, you know what? I was scheduled to play it at Gobfest. No. What was it called? KefCon. Yes, I was scheduled to play it at KefCon, but then I ended up being sick and not being able to go. So maybe it wasn't meant to be. Maybe it's a sign.
No, sign up some other time. You'll like it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I want to try Rococo. So, Okay, my number 18 is Thiebes. Thiebes was created in 2007, and it was created by Peter Prinz, and I really like this game. So, and this one is you have a board that has the map of like Europe, and I don't know what area that is, but so you go around the Europe countries trying to accumulate knowledge, and every movement that you do, so when you go from one city to the next, excuse me, that's 1 week. And then the time you spend there, depending on what you're doing, because you'll have 4 cards that tells you what's available. It says, okay, well, there's 2 knowledge on the green site in Paris. So you would go to Paris, and then you're like, okay, travel by 2, so that's 2 weeks. And to accumulate that knowledge, it's 5 weeks, so then 7 weeks. So you would move forward 7 weeks on the track, because the track is like the time. And the person who goes next is whoever's the last position on this time track. So I was okay, then it's me, and so on. So if you do a really small action, you can do multiple action. But the first portion, like you're trying to accumulate all these knowledge, and then you're going to go to the dig site and then try to dig for artifacts. This is like Indiana Jones without the adventure part, right? It's just the dig site. So you accumulate the knowledge, and you go, and let's say you go to Egypt, and then the first one to get there always finds an artifact that's like available on the board. So they would get that one. And that's always like a 1-point artifact. But then depending on the amount of knowledge you have this disc here. So it's like, okay, well, I have 7 knowledge. So you would turn the dial to the 7 knowledge, and then it has like a line that goes down. So it's like, okay, so if I stay for 1 week, I get to pull nothing out of the bag. But if I stay 2 weeks, I get to pull 1. 3 weeks, it's still 1. If I dig for 4 weeks, then I get to pull 2, and so on. So the longer you stay, the more you can pull out of the bag. But the more knowledge you have, the better these numbers are going to be as well. So say, okay, so I'm pulling out 7 out of the bag, let's say, so you pull 7. Now, half of the tokens in the bag at the very beginning is sand. That's it. There's nothing on them. So you want to try to avoid that if you can. But, and then there's no controlling that. It's in the bag. But if you're the second person to go, and there's already been if there's already been somebody there that's pulled artifacts out, well, the sand goes back, so now like the ratio of sand to artifact ratio gets worse, right? There's more chances of you pulling sand. But it's neat. So you got the 5 different locations you can go to, and then you have the like the map that's travel on, and then there'll be exhibits. Like you can go into, it'll be like exhibit cards that'll come up. It says, okay, well, this is worth 5 points if you can do this exhibit. And to do the exhibit, you need to have an artifact from Egypt and an artifact from, and I forget what the names are, but like they'll show you the different colored artifacts you need to have in order to be able to do the exhibit. But then you'd have to go to that city, travel to the city, spend 4 weeks to do the exhibit. So like everything costs you time. It's neat. I really like it. And I had played this one with my sister a long time ago, and she really liked it. And then I found a secondhand copy because this one's out of print. You can't find it anymore. So I found a secondhand copy for fairly cheap. So I purchased it in Calgary, but I don't live in Calgary. She does. So I called her up. I was like, hey, I bought a game for you for your birthday. I need you to go pick it up though. So she picked it up and then brought it over to me. She's like, I still want you to wrap it for my birthday. So then she came over for supper. She was borrowing my folding tables and my chairs for her birthday party. And then I wrapped the gift, but because this is an open secondhand copy, I wrapped everything inside the box as well. I wrapped the rule book, I wrapped the board, I wrapped each bag, I wrapped all the cards. And then, so she opened the book, like the game, and then, oh, fake surprise. Oh, I'm so excited. And I was like, well, open it, see if you recognize it. And then she opened it and then saw that everything was wrapped in there. She's like, oh my God, is that why it took you so long? It's like, it was funny. But it's such a great game. So then we played it again that night with her and her boyfriend because she couldn't remember it. She's like, oh yeah, this is a great game. So that's my number 18, Thiebes.
That's hilarious. And then you posted her reaction on
yeah, I was videoing her
opening their gift. It's funny. All right, my number 18 is The Magnificent, made in 2019 by Elif Svensson and Christian Amundsen Otsby. Now this one is a game you are magicians and you are trying to perform the best tricks. But how you're doing that is you have this player board in front of you with these little polyomino spots, or I guess a grid, and then you are placing all these little tiles that are part of your tricks. And so you will gather those by traveling around. There's these 3 ring circles on the main board that you can travel around as one of your actions. It is dice placement, so depending on what color of dice you place, that's the track you'll go on. You can also go and perform them, actually. So that is these cards at the top of your player board that you will have to have all the little polyomino tiles in order to perform them. The whole show is what it is. So by doing that, you will get points, money typically, and then sometimes little bonuses depending on which tent you have performed your show at. And you have to acquire these tents as well in order to perform these shows. And this is all on top of your player board. And each time you place a tent, you'll get that little bonus on top. There's also ways you can upgrade some of your... you get these little helpers. They're these little round cylinders. And you'll be able to place those on the board to give you little bonuses that you can do before you perform a show. There's so much going on, and this was a game that came out, it was 2019, and I think it had a few bad reviews, so it intrigued me. I really wanted to try it, but then I sort of just let it go, and then just maybe a year-ish ago, I looked at it again, and I'm like, oh, I really want to try this, and a friend had it, so he lent it to me to try, and I loved it, so I ended up ordering it. It's just such a neat thing. It is very black, the board. So if that really turns you off, I mean, that might be a deal breaker for you. But I find it beautiful because it's black. Then you have all these little gems as well that you can build up. And so it adds a little punches of color all over. But it feels more thematic that way when you're thinking of magicians and just like shows. And like there's always darkness in there. I don't know. Right. I found it really cool. But they have also designed an older game called Santa Maria, which I had purchased at one of the auctions and with the expansion. So I'm excited to get that one to the table. And now they have a new one coming out called Revive, which is like not a like a apocalyptic. I can never say that word. Apocalyptic, where you're trying to survive in the future kind of thing. But there's so much going on that board. It looks interesting. But these designers, I just love. So I played a couple. They've had some roll and writes that are really cool, and I just love how they think and design. So I'm looking forward to those other two. But Magnificent is my number 18. Should give it a try.
Nice. That does sound interesting. My number 17 is Terra Mystica. This one was published in 2012. And let me butcher the name of the designers. So the first one is Jens Drojmuller and Helge Oldertag. Yes, look it up. But this one is great. Like I bought this off a friend. It was funny because the first time I played it, I called a few friends and I said, "Okay, this is a game I want to play. Who wants to play?" And then a couple people was like, "Yeah, I'll come and play." And then Lyle, who is the person I purchased this game from, came over and then he's setting it up. Said, "Oh yeah, I haven't played this one in so long. I like this one." He's like, "I owned this one before." I said, "I think I sold it." And I was like, "Yeah, you did. It's right here. This is the one we're playing." And he's like, "Oh, right." So we set it up. And then it's like, you get the map. Everybody kind of plays as a different tribe or species or something like
Actions
that.
Of some sort, yeah.
Yeah. So, but then you get assigned like a terrain. And then you can build all around you, but you need to change up the terrain in order to be able to build onto it. And depend like you have this kind of grid or this circle that shows like, okay, well, this is my terrain here. And then this terrain is 2 away, so you need to kind of upgrade it 2 times to bring it to the type of terrain you can build on. So that whole thing is really interesting. And then you have this like mana or power that you have in there, like little, I can't remember if it's like little beads or little disc, but they start in like, and you got to level that up and bring them to the 3rd level in order to have that available to spend. I like this game so much when I played it. Plus, you got the whole thing on your own board that you're trying to build up and power, like, and level up, and then you're going to be like, okay, well, I'm going to play this, and then it kind of unlocks things on your board and gives you more things that you can do. This very vaguely reminded me of Catan. Like, I was like looking at it because you need to have certain things in order to be able to build and that you've been collecting. So that kind of reminded me of Catan with the board that reminded me of Catan. But this is Catan taken to the next 3 level. Like, it was so good. I enjoyed it so much. And then I went and I played Gaia Project, which pretty much is the same game, but space themed. They've changed a few things a little bit, like, and the track that you're kind of trying to build on is a little bit different. The map is different. I gotta say, personally, I preferred Terra Mystica. Mind you, I lost at Gaia Project by over 100 points. So is that why? It's like, and honestly, I don't think that it is. I don't mind losing at a game. And both of them, when you're playing and then you're like doing all these things, like, even though I was losing by over 100 points in Gaia Project, every time it was my turn and I would do my turn, I'd be like, oh, okay, good. I did a lot of things. Like, you feel accomplished with everything that you've done. Like, it was great. And it's one of those games that can play long, but you don't notice. Like, it's just, you guys had taken off, played a whole game, come back 45 minutes later or more, and we're like
4 games, I think.
it just felt like it was 15 minutes. Like, it felt like no time had passed at all. Like, this, I'm liking it. I was like, I really got to play this again. But so that's my number 17, Terra Mystica.
Yeah, I have played both as well, and I prefer Terra Mystica as well. I'm not even sure why. Like, I mean, I don't love the space theme, but I don't typically love the fantasy theme, but I prefer it over space. But I just liked the look of the game better.
Yeah.
I think I liked the
I enjoyed the map better. It was easier to
really
branch out of the map.
And yeah, I preferred it. I would like to try, they had like a minier version called Terra Nova that they just came out with. So
That's interesting. I want to try that one.
Yeah, so it's Terra Mystica, but I think in half the time, I believe. But you still feel like you've kind of played a big chunky game. So that one looks neat, but yeah, good choice. All right, my number 17 is Isle of Cats by Frank West in 2019. This may be, let me just check, is it my top polyomino game? I think it is. Yep, this beat out. I think the Barren Park used to be my top polyomino game, but now it looks like it's
Isle of Cats. Wow.
Isle of Cats. Yeah, I love this game in the fact that it's not just the tile laying, which I love. Tile laying is one of my favorite mechanics in a game, but I love when they put it with other mechanics as well. This one, you are trying to rescue all these cats and put them on your boat, but they're all in polyomino shapes and all in different colors. So you're trying to get the light colors together because you want to keep the families together and you want your families to be as big as possible. You can put different colors, connected to them, but it's best to try and connect at least, families if you can. You can also, so you have this boat that has all these spots for these tiles, and you'll start with your tile anywhere. The first tile can go anywhere, but then you have to connect to at least another tile that you've already laid. The neat thing about it is there's also a drafting mechanic where you have these hand of cards, and you will each round you will draft. I can't remember now if it's one or two, and then you'll pass it on, and then look at the hand, draft. But then once you have your hand, you have to decide which ones you're keeping because you have to pay for them. You'll have to pay fish, and that's the currency in this game. So you do get an income of fish every round. Some of the cards can give you more fish in different ways. But I don't find it's not hard. Like, you do have income, but you always want a little bit more because you want to have more cards that you want to buy. You have to have baskets in order to rescue these cats. So if you want to rescue 4 cats in one round, you need to find a way to have 4 baskets. You start with 1 permanent. There are ways to get more permanent ones through cards, but most of them are the temporary ones. So you'll spend cards or 2 half basket cards in order to be able to save one. But then you also have to bribe these fish into your baskets with fish. Or not these fish. You have to bribe these cats into the basket with fish. So you also have to save enough fish in order to bribe the cats to get into your basket so you can save them. It's just really neat. And I had watched this on Kickstarter. This was a while ago. I mean, it was 2019 when the game came out, so it probably kickstarted in 2018. And I watched it and thought, I bet it's like going to be too easy or something. And so I never backed it. But then when it came out, I didn't buy it. But when I was on the cruise, this guy, he's like, "You guys, we got to play this. My game group loves this game." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll give it a try here." Played it, and oh wow, did we love it. It's awesome. I know you didn't have a great experience with it, but
it's funny, yeah. No, I didn't mind the gameplay. And then it took a really long time when we played. No, plus, it just seemed so chaotic on the table. Then you're bringing all these pieces out. Then you put in all these pieces away to bring more pieces out. And it's like, well, what about this piece? Was this from this batch? It's like, oh. And like it just, the whole table was chaos when we were playing it. The game itself was interesting. But I was like, no, I think I'm good.
Yeah, no, I love this game. It's awesome. And then he's added a couple of expansions, and they've all been good. They've all added to the game and brought more things into it, and it's great. I just love this. He has a new one coming out called Escape. No, not Escape the Crate. What am I saying? Oh, it's called Back to the Raft.
Oh, okay.
Back to the Raft, I think. And so this is the story after, when you haven't saved all the cats or something, the ones that are trying to get into the raft, or you're trying to get them into the raft or something. But it's also a tile laying game, but sort of a cooperative, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So it looks really interesting. I'm backing that one with Sentry. Like, I haven't had to back it myself. We have this one store that will back games, and you can just basically pre-order from them. And it's awesome because they get a better deal for all of us. I still have to get into that store. Have you ever been to Sentry Box?
Yes. Oh my God, it's impressive.
Is it?
It
Okay,
is impressive. Like you walk in on the second floor and you kind of walk up to the ramp and then you oversee the whole room.
Oh,
And it's
cool.
rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of board games. And then they've got like this miniature section. And then they have like this war game section. And then like it's impressive. Plus the whole room is done up like the walls are decorated. There's like it looks like Egyptian stuff over here, and then there's like fantasy stuff on the wall over there. It looks so good. It looks amazing. And then I think with Sentry Box, you can rent board games from them as well.
Oh, really?
They do the Kickstarters ones. You can purchase games, but then if you're registered on your birthday, you get 10% off the games as well. The selection is unreal. It's what was it, like the largest board game store in North America?
Oh, so that was the one. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm glad. Well, and the guy we're dealing with these Kickstarters, he's just amazing.
Dan, yeah.
Dan, like I've messaged him probably 100 different times for different things, and I'm like, and you're sure you don't need me to pay money up front? And he's like, nope. I'm like,
Yeah, you pay when they arrive.
Do you
That's
need me
amazing.
to pay this time? He's like, nope, just put your name on it, and you're not even obligated to buy it. I'm like, what? What kind of deal is this? Like, it's just great. I'm assuming they have great customer service because
they're great.
The way he deals with these are just unreal. But yeah, you guys all have to go and check out Sentry Box if you ever go to Calgary.
It's honestly, it's worth a trip.
Yeah. But that was my number 17, Isle of Cats.
Yeah, a bit off topic there. All right, back on topic. My number 16 is Keyflower. I love this game. Now, this one was published in 2012. It's created by Sebastien Bleasdale and Richard Breeze. And they've created like a whole Key series. And I've been buying almost every game in the Key series. But as of right now, the only one I've ever played is Keyflower. This was gifted to me for my birthday from my brother. And it was funny because he was like, okay, I'm going to send you a hint. And I'm like, okay. And he took like really, really, really close-up pictures of this little thing on the board, and it's like, what is that, like a seagull? What the heck is this? Like, and then he was like, do you want another hint? I was like, yeah, I want another hint. And he would take me like another like really crazy zoomed in thing on the, like, just like a little speck of something that's on the board game box, and I'm like, what is this? So so I got it, and it's such a great game. So you play over the 4 seasons, so spring, summer, autumn, fall, and everybody gets this little house. It's like a little shield, like cardboard shield, but it's shaped into a house. And if you look into it, like you can see there's things on the wall. Like the attention to detail is great. So you put this in there. And then you start with so many meeples that you draw out of a bag. And you have this bag that has meeples in there, but some are yellow, some are red, some are blue. You don't know what you're kind of pulling out, and then you get these different colored meeples. And then in the first round, you're going to have so many different tiles that flips up. And these are the tiles you're going to be playing with for the first round, but you're bidding on adding them to your village because you have your little starting village tile. And then, so if I want to bid on one, and it's interesting the way that it bids, these are octagon shaped. There's 6 sides. I'm not sure what that is.
Yes. Yeah.
But so there are those shapes, and then the side that is facing you, because they all get placed oriented the same way. So the side of that shape that faces you is where you would put your meeple. That's the only indication that this is me, is because it's on my side and it faces me. So I would say, like, hey, I'm putting a red meeple, I'm bidding on that. Now, if anybody ever wants to outbid me for this particular tile on their side of the shape, they would have to put 2 meeple to beat me. But because I've put a red, this tile is now associated, like, or been designed red as the color, so they would have to put 2 red in order to be able to outbid me on that one. And then if anybody else wants to outbid, then they'd have to put 3 reds. And if you're outbid on a tile, you can take that meeple and move it and place it somewhere else. If it's 2 meeples, you can't separate them. You got to place the 2 meeples together somewhere else. Now, it could be that a few of us are fighting over who's going to own this tile. And in the meantime, while they're doing that, somebody can come and put like, well, I'm going to put one meeple on it, and it's going to have to be red because this now designated red. I'll put one meeple on it, not bidding on it, but I'll just put it on it and activate the ability of that tile. So I collect these different goods or whatever that is. So whenever you collect good, it lands in your village, unless you're activating a tile from your village, which you can do as well. But if you activate a tile from the bidding area, then whatever you collect from that goes into your village tile. Now, whoever wins that tile at the end, like the meeple that's been bid, that goes away. But any meeple that's been played on it, that goes in their meeple pool in their little house shield thing. So you're making this tile like more valuable because now you get meeples as well. And the whole thing of having these different colored meeples is you're trying to say, okay, I'm going to try to go bid on this one. It's like, darn it, somebody just played blue, and I only have one blue, so now I can't outbid them because I don't have any blue meeples. And like, so you've got all of that going on too, and then you can even upgrade some of your meeple to green meeples. And the only thing that's valuable about the green meeple is that it's rare, and if you bid with a green meeple, chances are of people being able to come and outbid you are really slim because you can't just get green meeple. You have to upgrade to green meeples. So, and you're doing this, then you're adding these tiles to your village, and then you got like these carts that allows you to move the goods, because you can move goods to different locations to be able to flip the tile over to its upgraded version, so that the ability on these tiles are more powerful, and that it's actually the tile is worth more points as well. But you can also play, like I said, you can play the meeples on the tiles in the middle to activate what's in the middle. You can play your meeples on your village to activate the tiles on your village. But you can actually play your meeples on the other people's village to activate what they've got going on. Now, keep in mind, when you do that, you're giving them that meeple. At the end of the round, they collect that meeple, goes in their meeple grouping or whatever. But sometimes it's like, okay, great, I have a plan. I'm going to go activate this to get this, and I'm going to move that over there so I can upgrade this, and then somebody comes and use my village. And you got to understand, these aren't your tiles. This isn't your village. Everybody can come and play on it. But I have a friend who's like, my wife will not play this. This is the only game she will flip a table on, just because you can like come and mess with my plans. Yeah. So, but oh my God, I love it. I love this game. It is so good. And then you do the next round, right? And then the next round. But, like, it can really suffer from, what is it, IP? AP, yeah, like where it takes is, because there's just so much to consider. It's like, okay, which tile do I want, and what would that do? So you get a couple of people that takes a really long time trying to figure out what they want to do, and then you get me after them, and then it's my turn, and it takes crazy long because I have no idea it's my turn yet, and because I you know, like, so this can suffer from that. But I mean, and I've played this at all player counts, even though it can get that, and I still love it. We played it at Malcon at max player count, I'm pretty sure, and we didn't really kind of had to deal with that, but the game was amazing. It was so good. I love this one, and that's my number 16, Keyflower.
Yeah, we had a 5-player game there, and we played it pretty fast, hey?
Yeah, no, it went smooth. No issues, yeah.
Awesome. All right, my number 16 is Habitats, the original was made in 2016 by Corne van Moorsel. He has remade it, and I kickstarted it last year and got it in the fall this year, and I love it. This one has taken over Nova Luna. I am not getting rid of Nova Luna because I still love it, and it's just a simple tiling game, but this one is... Nova Luna was made from Habitats.
Oh, so okay, yeah.
Rosenborg, he even claims that like he took it's basically that game, but he put it in a simpler version, which usually kind of goes the opposite way. But so this one is Nova Luna with a theme. So you are building up this animal park in your like on your tableau there. And how you do that, though, is it's different in Nova Luna how you will choose tiles. In this one, you have tiles on a grid in the middle, and you have a Jeep that you drive around, and you will take the next tile that's in front of you. Or you can take one beside you, to your left or to your right, or in front of you, but you can never take the one behind you from the tile you just left. So you kind of have to plan your route that way. But it's neat because you aren't just choosing tiles to connect to other tiles, which like in Nova Luna, it's just colors. So you will pick a tile and it'll have different colors on it, and it'll be a color, but it'll want different colors as well. So you're just continue trying to connect different or same colors to satisfy the tiles that are surrounding it. It's a really unique game, but this one, so it's the same thing. You are trying to like put an animal down, but it wants to have these habitats next to it. Or you're putting a habitat with like these certain animals it wants next to it. It might want flowers. So there's also, this adds more because there's not just the tiles you're connecting, but it adds flora. So some of these flower tiles are just kind of straight points, but some of the tiles want to be next to those. It adds some watchtowers, which just want tiles in certain patterns of the same kind. So you're also kind of doing some pattern building. It has these tourist spots, I believe, or trek spots where it'll just depend how much terrain, like this tourist wants this certain amount of terrain in your whole park. So if you have 5 of those at the end, you'll get 5 points. So it's kind of end game points. It's just really neat. And then on top of that, at the end of each round, because there's 3 rounds, you have this whole objective board that you will score 2 different ones on each round. So that changes up each game. And they vary drastically. Like one will be whoever has their Jeep closest to the edge at the end of the round. So you're driving around and trying to make sure you're like right at the edge because ties are friendly, I believe. Some will just be like whoever has the most of a certain type of terrain, or whoever has the most tents in there, or watchtowers. So the game is completely different every time you play because there's so many of these different objective tiles that you will flip around and they will be used on each round. And then at the end, of course, you're going to score. The scoring is a little bit different because in Nova Luna, you're just trying to get rid of your discs. But this one, it's when you complete your disc, it'll give you a certain amount of points. So it's like a point scoring thing, but it comes with a nice little dry erase board to keep track of the points. And it's laid out very nicely and it makes it all so much easy to do, but it's just so pretty. And of course, another tile laying, which I love, but it's not polyomino though. It's just, you're just connecting them. But if you've tried Nova Luna, you've got to try this one. It's awesome. And that's my number 16, Habitats.
Nice. I'll have to try Habitat. All right. My number 15 is Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion. And this one was published in 2020, and it was created by Isaac Childress. And the reason that it's Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion, and not Gloomhaven is because I haven't played Gloomhaven. I'm going through Jaws of the Lion before I play my Gloomhaven games. So, and I haven't got Frosthaven because by the time I'm done with Gloomhaven and I'm ready for Frosthaven, it'll be years. So, Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion. Now, it's neat. So, the main difference from what I understand between Gloomhaven and Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion is the book that you open up and has all the maps preset ready to go in there. So depending on, and this is scenario based, right? So you start with the first one and you have like this little map that you put the sticker every time you accomplish one, and it kind of adds a little bit to it. So it kind of shows what you've done. So you start with the first one, you go through the scenario, and this game is really well designed, as in the first 5 scenarios slowly builds up and introduces every aspect of the game. The first one, it's kind of a simplified version. You just play through the little scenario and it doesn't have all the rules yet. And then it kind of builds up so that by the 5th game, and then you've been exposed to everything, it's built up to it, but it's not just like overwhelming trying to learn this game all at once. So that was really well done. And kind of makes it more attainable for anybody, right? So we played that, and then you have the map, so you kind of would open the book on the map that's of the scenario that you're doing, and then you place there's a treasure there, and there's like a door, so everything kind of gets added to the board that way, or the map that way, and in the book, so you read like what it says about the scenario, and you kind of, so it's a little story driven, and it says, okay, well, this is what's happening and this is what you need to do, so you kind of have your goal. And then once sometimes like you go through you get to open the door, well, new things happen, and you would then read the next portion or so, and you have your characters, and your characters will upgrade as you play, so you keep in track of that as well. And there's 4 different characters you can play as. So it's me and Lee playing this. So we've played as 2 characters. I'm the warden, I want to say. Like, so I do mostly spells, and my attack style is mostly like I can give extra attack to the other players, or I can manipulate the monsters to attack themselves. But I'm very weak myself to do first hands-on attack. But you have these cards, and each card has an action on the top and an action on the bottom. And each round, you're going to pick 2 cards. And you're going to choose 1 top action and 1 bottom action. And this is done silently, like you're not showing the other players what it is. I'll often be like, okay, great, I'm going to do this one, and then I'm going to do this action that allows Lee to do an extra attack if he's within a range 4 of me, and so on. So I was like, perfect, that's going to be so good, then we can defeat this monster and then go on to the next one, and so on. So then you do that, and then there's like a little number on this card that kind of gives you the initiative, so whoever has the lowest initiative goes first. My character never goes first, pretty much. But then there's also the initiative for the monsters that are on there as well. So they have their own monster deck that you flip over and see what they're doing. And then, so then you would kind of go and do your action in this order. So most of the time, Lee goes first. Sometimes it's the monsters before I get to go. And almost every time, Lee moves out of range so that my great big move where I'm going to allow him to do this is like, great, well, I can't do that anymore. Now, each card does have like the basic movement and the basic attack, but I suck at attacking. So it's like, oh, great, now what? Like, so that whole thing is neat. It's exciting. It's interesting. And then you have the monsters that do their own thing. And then depending on what type of monsters, what they'll do, and then what their attacks are like, and be like, oh, great, well, if he hits me, I'm going to be poisoned. And then I have a poison thing on it, and then I take damage every time. So then I'm going to have to heal myself to get rid of this. I like it. This is good. I'm enjoying it so much. So I'm excited to kind of complete this one and then to get started with Gloomhaven, because I bought Gloomhaven from Lyle, and all like he 3D printed the entire like insert for it, so everything is like all sorted in these 3D printed thing. But I've been enjoying this one. So that's my number 15, Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion.
Awesome. And do you think you will, after you're done this, then you'll try Gloomhaven? Do you have the...
Yeah, I have it already.
Oh, you have the big one. Yeah. Nice. All right. My number 15 is Orleans, made in 2014 by Rainer Stockhausen. This one is an oldie, but I love this. I love this game so much. It's a bag builder, and I think it's the only bag builder I have right now, I believe. And so what you are doing in this one, it has like an old dry Euro theme, but you start with some workers in your bag, and then each round you will pull out, depending how much castle power you have, you'll pull out that many workers and put them on your board, and then you can place them into these worker placement spots on your board. So everybody has this huge little board that they play with. And what these different things can do is you can use people to hire other people. So of course, to get more workers in your bag, because you want to get more. You can go to a castle and improve your way of pulling out more people so that you have more actions each round. You can hire monks, which are wild tokens, and they can go anywhere. You can go to this town center where you will get rid of that little worker, like, forever, but he'll give you a huge bonus, and you will try to travel. So there's this other whole board in the middle where you're traveling around like Orleans and all the places around it, trying to build I forget the word. You're trying to build these little houses, but you're also collecting all these goods as you're traveling along, as you go through these paths. if you've went through one with a good, you get to collect it. And the goods you can just keep them in there and gain points, or depending if you have an expansion, they have some objective cards that you are trying to fulfill by going to these certain locations and delivering certain goods that will give you big points. Different things as well that you can do is go to, you can travel by water or by land, can build these trading posts. You can also gather these buildings throughout the game, and those you can place workers on as well, and they will give you different things. Some will just give you straight money, some will give you other goods. There's events every round. Some are good and some are bad. So some will make you pay goods or pay money. Some will move you back on tracks and different things. It's just a lot going on, but it's so good and it just flows so well together. I love this game so much. It's my number 15, Orleans.
Nice. I've played that one at FalCon the first time, and it was neat. And I bought it afterwards, but I haven't had the chance to play it again, and I really want to. All right, so number 14. My number 14 is Raiders of the North Sea. I bought this one secondhand, so I went to purchase it and then picked it up, but it was still in shrink. So I was like, oh, wow. So then I'm opening it up, and then I kind of looking at everything, and then I squealed like, oh, metal coins. So it came with the metal, and these coins are cool too. But this board is amazing, and this game is amazing. This is the first time I've come across because it's worker placement, and you set up your board, and some of the locations have workers on it, and then you start with one worker. And the way that it works is you put your one worker down on an empty spot to do that action. And some spots require specific colored workers, and there's black, white, and gray available. So, and I think you start with a black one, so you put your black worker, you do the action, and then you pick up a worker, and then you do that action. And it's so wild. So now the worker that you've put down to do that action will be available to pick up to do that action again. You can't do that on the same turn though. So we put the action worker down, do that action, and then it's like, okay, well, now I want to do this. I'm going to pick up this one. So, because what can happen in worker placement is I'll be like, hey, I have a plan. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go and activate that, and then all of a sudden somebody takes the spot, and you can't do it anymore, and then it's like wrecks everything. But this way, it kind of doesn't. You can still do that action, but you're going to have to pick up from there. So then the worker you were going to play there, you'd have to play somewhere else to pick up this one. And it's neat. It is clever. And you're kind of going around mainly the bottom portion of it because it's Viking themed. And you're collecting these different things and these different resources. And you have these cards that are your crew on your ship. And you're trying to add more to it so that you have the more strength and more things like that. And then eventually when you're kind of well set up enough, you can go and start raiding further away, and you would go kind of on the upper side of the board, and then you're gonna go put your worker there to raid that location, and you would collect these different things from raiding there. And then the further up you go, the more you get for it, but then you have to roll the dice. Like there's a battle kind of involving the rolling the dice, and then you have your crew's gonna get involved with this as well. So you need to have so you can go and try to raid a place and it doesn't work out, or but it's, oh my God, it's so good. This game is so well designed, and then that place a worker, pick up a worker thing. I'm assuming some other games have done this, but I haven't seen it anywhere else yet, and I'm impressed. So that's my number 14, Raiders of the North Sea.
Yeah, that's a really good game. I have the Raiders of Scythia version, but it's basically the same game, just a different look. But I just love the mechanic of, putting a person down, getting that action, and then also getting the action of the one you take. I really like that. It's really cool. Awesome. My number 14 is Clans of Caledonia, made in 2017 by Juma El Juju. This one is a unique game, I find, too. In a way, I almost think it reminds me of Terra Mystica, but in just this farming theme. Because you are trying to put people on the map in a similar way by taking things off you get little bonuses, but it does kind of sideways, like a completely different. But I find it's kind of a version of that style of game. But I just love this one. I'll play this on the table, on BGA, wherever. It's so neat because there's so much going on. You have this huge little, you have this player board in front of you with tons of little animals and resources that they stay on their own. Then you have your workers, your loggers, and your mountain guys, the mountain climbing guys. And so you are trying to place these on this board and it's an area control as well. But that's only part of the game. You're placing them on this map, basically, and trying to connect different clans and have as many clans as you possibly can, but connected within a shipping zone. How you do that is on your turn, you have one action, and there's so many different actions you can do, but you can only do one, and then it just keeps going around, and until you've passed that round, you can do as many actions as you want, which I love. Because you're not just limited to like, I can only do 4 things. No, as much money as you have to spend or resources that you have, you can just keep going and going until you're ready to pass. So what you're doing is trying to place these workers on your on the main board, as well as build up these factories and farms and different things by placing cows, sheep, cheese. You're trying to build farms with these wheat, but then you could turn them into bread or whiskey. So however much you have on your board and not on your player board at the end of the round, that's what you're going to produce. But sometimes you might have had to fulfill a I forget what they're called, just the little I can't think of the word, but the little tiles that you have to fulfill and put in, because you only have one spot and you can only do one at a time. So you might have to slaughter a cow and then it would come back onto your board. So you won't get the income bonus at the end, but you've used it to fulfill this. You might have to pay certain resources that you were maybe saving for at the end because it was going to give you points at the end. You might have to pay money, or you'll get money, you'll get upgrades, because you can also upgrade different things as well. You can upgrade your shipping level, because normally when you're building, you can only build right next to each other, but once your shipping level is improved, you can build according to that. You can go across water. You can do different things like that. There's a whole market, which the market is so cool, because if you go, you have these little market cubes that you start with at the game, but you can upgrade and get more. And so that gives you more options of selling and buying. So you might have found a way to like produce a whole bunch of whiskey, and whiskey is usually really expensive. So you could just go sell it at the market. But as soon as you sell it, then it goes down in price. And then if you go and buy something, it'll go up in price. So I love how that market moves as well, because some people might see, you're going to try and sell all that whiskey. I'm going to lower that price so that you're not making all that money, so that you can do more things. There's so much going on in this game, but it just all makes sense and flows together. And the neat thing too at the end is there's a bunch of different scoring things that you do, but the one thing is when you're completing these tiles, they have on them like tobacco, hops, sugar cane, and there's something else, but the ones that score the most are the most rare. So the ones that people have the least of, that's what's going to be worth the most points. So as you're grabbing these objectives, you're looking to see like, okay, if I do this, I'm going to lower that, and he's got a whole bunch of it, so I'm going to, he'll get less points that way. So you really have to look around and see what people have been fulfilling, and, try to even things out so that somebody isn't just getting a whole bunch of one thing, but then it's still so rare that they're going to get a whole bunch of points. There's a lot going on, but I just love this game. And this guy has promised an expansion for years and years and years, and he still says he's working on it, but it could use one just to change up a bit for people who play it a lot. And this is one of the bigger games, which I don't play a lot of bigger games often. This one I do, because I play it so much on BGA, and I try to pull it out on the table as much as possible too, because I love it. But that's my number 14, Clans of Caledonia.
Nice. My number 13 is Aeons End. And this one was created in 2016, and it was created by Kevin Riley. And I bought this one because I was I was really enjoying the deck building games, and I was like, hey, I think this one sounds cool, so I bought it. And this one introduces like different things. Like it's different from other games. So it's deck builder, yes. And with deck builder, like you bring up your card, you put them in your discard pile, you bring up your card, put them in the discard pile till you've used up your deck, then you shuffle your discard pile. This one you don't. So once you finish and you discard, you take your discard pile, you flip it over, and it keeps it in the same order. So when you're acquiring new cards, you're trying to like, okay, well, because some cards, like if you have 2 diamonds in your hand at the same time or 2 gems, like it get to activate extra things. So you're trying to buy those so that they'll sandwich together and that they'll come up together, right? So it has that whole other strategy of to when do you buy and where do you put them in your deck, because this doesn't get shuffled. It's just like, okay, now you take it and you flip it and then you start again. So that aspect of it is really cool. Then the next thing that's really different is the play order. So depending on how many players, like I think 2-player game is each player gets to play twice, but then there's also the bad guy, the monster you're battling that will have a turn. And then those are cards that's shuffled. So you shuffle them and then you flip over and say, oh, okay, so it's your turn, you go. And then, oh, okay, you go again. And it's like, oh, okay, now it's the bad guy. So depending on how this got shuffled, who's going to go when, which can affect a little bit of what you're going to do. Plus, whereas like all these, you got like these 4 portals, I'm not sure what they're called. Like there's 4 different things that you can kind of shift. So you have one where you can ready your, like you have one that's open ready to go, and then you can put your spell on it and you ready your spell, but you need to ready your spell for your next turn. So you'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to put my spell there and get that ready. So then, because those get activated at the beginning of your turn, so you're kind of planning for when you get to go again. So, and then, okay, I'll ready that. And then you have this thing that you kind of build up as well on your player board, and when you build up, then you get to activate it. So you're kind of accumulating this to build up your like powerful move. And then you have the monster, and the monster changes depending on which game you're playing. And this game is hard. I have played around where the monster kept hitting or sending these things at us, because the whole goal is a monster is attacking your village and you're trying to defeat the monster to protect the village, but if the village is ever destroyed, you lose. And we never hit the monster, like not a single time, because we got so caught up and busy trying to defeat all these things they were sending at us, and we're defeating these minions, that we didn't touch the big monster at all, and our village got destroyed, and it was punishing. And for some reason, I tend to like punishing games. Like, I don't know why, but it's like, oh my god, that was hard. Okay, that was great. Let's do it again. And it's like, so I love them. I don't know why, but I've played this one a few times. I've won it once. One time we defeated the game. Like, it is so. But like I said, there's different scenarios there. But the whole thing, all these different things and how it all comes together, I like it so much. It is so good. And all these different things that I've never seen in different games, with the play order, with like the way that you have to ready your spell ahead of time so that you can use it for your next turn. And the whole, you don't shuffle, you just flip over. Like, it works. The whole combination works. It's a great game. And that's my number 13, Aeons End.
How hard is it to not shuffle that deck before you free?
Right. Well, it's okay, because you're so conscientious of it, and I was like, now is when I want to buy a diamond, because I have a diamond in my hand now. And then you can kind of sort your cards when you discard them. So you're like, okay, I'll try to put that like this, and it's like, so you're so conscientious of it that if you work so hard trying to get it to work, you wouldn't want to shuffle it. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird not shuffling it.
Yeah, that is cool. All right, my number 13 is my last, I'd say, filler game. The rest are all, fairly chunky games. But that's Azul, made in 2017 by Michael Kiesling. I love this game. This is my prettiest abstract strategy game, but I also love the play. And I know a lot of people they say it's sort of samey over time, but I don't know. I find maybe because I have 4 of the versions of it. The only one I wasn't a fan of was the second, but I got the chocolate one too, which is so pretty, and I just love the tiles, and I love feeling the chunky tiles. I love just the strategy. The 2-player, I've mostly played 2-player, which I love, but I would be, fine to play it 3 or 4. This game, you are placing tiles, you're building a tapestry. And what you're trying to do is pick these tiles out of factories, which are in the middle of the player surface. And as soon as you choose one color, you'll take all those color from one factory and push them into the middle. And then you'll take that tile, those tiles that you've taken, and you have to place them all in one line on your board. If you don't have enough, then you'll leave an open spot and you'll hopefully get that color that round so that you can push them over. But if you have too many, you can only put as many as you can fill in where you're putting them, and then the other ones go down to this negative spot at the bottom. Once you've completed these lines at the end of the round, they will push over onto your tapestry and they'll give you points. And as soon as you put one down, you'll get 1 point. But if you put another one that connects to it, you'll get to add more points. So if you have a whole line or even a cross, you get all the points in both sides. So scoring as you go is important, but there's also at the end, you score for horizontal and vertical lines. You score for if you have one color in every single line on your board. It's just so pretty and fun. And the more I play it, the more I see different strategy and different ways to screw other players, because it is a very take that game. Because a lot of times, especially near the end of the game, someone is going to be stuck with a whole bunch of tiles, and you're looking around, you're counting the turns. Okay, I have to take 3 more times out of there. So if I take this and they take that, who's going to be left with all those that nobody needs? So it's I typically don't like take that games, but I think in abstract strategy, it's a given. You're obviously trying to screw the other person in order to win. So in those type of games, I don't mind, but this one it's just gorgeous. It fits in with my house decor, so that helps. I have purchased a player mat, which is like the what are player mats made of? I always forget the material. Neoprene. And it looks almost just like a runner. And sometimes I just put that on my table as a decoration because the colors, my color scheme in my house. And it looks so nice. I love playing it on the deck with the player mat. The player mat is only a 2-player version of it, but it has everything you need. All you have to do is grab the tiles and the mat. Nice. And you get to play. But it's just awesome. And I love it. And that's my number 13, Azul.
Perfect. My number 12 is Bohnanza. So Bohnanza was created in 1997, and it's a Uwe Rosenberg game. And this is the one that, like, the odd duck in my list this week. So, like, I've got, like, all these big game, Bohnanza, which is a small card game. And I was like, how did that make it so high? But, it's such a well-designed game. It's amazing. So it's a game about planting beans. And the artwork is very whimsical, and you have all these different beans. Like, you have the black-eyed bean, which is a boxer and has a black eye, right? And you have the wax beans and the stinky bean, which you could see is, like, got the stink lines on it. And you got, like, all these different beans. And then on your turn, you have to plant your bean that is in front of your hand, because this is one of those where you can't sort your hand. The way is in your hand, it stays that way. When you draw, they go to the back, and you cannot change the order of your hand. So you're gonna have to plant the bean that is at the front. So in the beginning, doesn't matter. You have 2 spots in your garden to plant in. It's all empty, so you would plant the one. You could plant more if you have, like, multiples of the same one. So, okay, you plant your bean. Then after you're done your planting phase, you would go on the draw pile and you flip 2 over. And then those are beans that you're either going to have to add to your garden or trade with other players. So maybe it's like, okay, well, I just planted a coffee bean. Oh, and the coffee bean's there, so that's fine. I'll keep that. But then there's a wax bean, and I really don't want a wax bean. So, okay, so who wants a wax bean? And no, yeah, okay, I'll take a wax bean. I'll give you a stink bean. I was like, well, no, I don't want a stink bean either. Is it, well, if you don't take my stink bean, I'm not giving you I'm not taking that wax bean. It's like, darn it, I don't want the wax bean either. Like, so, and then you'd be like, okay, well, if you take the wax bean, I'll give you a blue bean as well. And it's like, just to take. I don't even trade it. Like, but it's like such a pure anything goes trading game. And then once those are traded, whoever traded for it, they have to plant it then. Whatever you traded for, you have to plant as well. And you kind of keep going and you're doing this and round until you can harvest at any time. So be like, okay, because on the bottom it says, well, if you have 4 cards, you get 1 coin. But if you reach 6 cards, you would get 2 coin and so on. So you're trying to create enough in this because you can add blue bean to blue bean and so on. So let's say it's like, hey, and you got to plant, darn it, and I wasn't able to trade this off, so now I've got to plant a green bean, and I don't have a spot for it in my garden, so that means I'm going to have to harvest one. And I was hoping to get more blue bean to get this higher, but it's not going to happen, so I'll harvest a blue bean, and that gives me 2 coins. So you take all of the blue bean cards out of there. You keep 2 of them because on the back side it's coins. So you would put 2 aside. Those are the 2 coins you've collected. The rest goes in the discard pile and then you would plant your next one. So, and it's all this negotiating, the planting, the harvesting, and you go through the deck 3 times. Now the first time it takes quite a while to get through the deck. The second time it takes less because all the coins you've collected are pulled out of the deck, so the deck gets smaller. And the third time it takes almost no time at all. And then at the very end is you harvest anything that you've got left in your garden, and then it's whoever has the most coins wins the game. But this game is such a it's just so smooth. It's so well designed. It just works so well that every time we play it, I just love it. Now, I've played Bohnanza Duel, and I like that one as well. I think it's so clever how they've made it that you can negotiate with a 2-player game. Because with that one is you have all these cards in the middle, and you would kind of slice like, oh, I'm offering you a blue bean. And you kind of push it towards the other player. And they can either accept it or counter offers like, no, but I would offer you a stink bean. So then they would slide that one towards you until an agreement comes to be. But you can bluff. Like, I'm offering you this. I don't have it. I hope you don't take that one. So. But so far, those are the 2 versions of the Bohnanzas I have played. I know there's more out there, but I am so impressed with this one that this simple card game has made it all the way up to my number 12, Bohnanza.
Yeah, that's a good game. I don't get to play this enough. I don't think I've found a group who's liked it. I've tried it with family and a couple friends, and they didn't like it. And I'm like, I'm not getting rid of this game because I like it, and I will find people who like it. I want to play it more. Good choice. All right, my number 12 is Istanbul, made in 2014 by Rudiger Dorn. Now, this one I had already talked about, the smaller dice version, which I love, but this one is the big game. And all you're doing is racing to collect rubies. So there's no scoring, there's no adding up of points. It's just getting there and winning. And if you've done it you do get to complete the round, I believe. And then if somebody else matches the amount of rubies you got, I think it's 6 depending on player count, then there's some sort of tiebreaker, but I don't remember. But this game gets my heart racing. The play of the game is awesome as well. You have all these tiles, which are different places to visit that you will place out on the board. And I have the big box version, so I have all the expansions, which I use. I use all those expansions because it adds different ways of getting income and different things. But so it also makes the board bigger, because I think the base game starts with maybe a 4x4-ish, and then it kind of goes out from each expansion because it adds a few more tiles in each. But you have this worker that moves around the board, and he kind of has to move with his helpers. So you start out with, I think it's 4 or 5, and then they're on top of your main guy, or underneath your main guy. And as you move along to these different tiles, you always have to drop off a worker. And then where you land is the action you'll do. Now, if you happen to be out of workers, you have to take a turn to go get a worker, or you can, I think you can pay certain things to move one or whatnot. But then you also have this little nephew who you can boss around to travel around the board to collect things, and he can kind of jump around and go a little bit faster, but then you get some negatives. You are trying to get goods and then trade them in for money sometimes, or gather coffee. You are trying to trying to go to these places to get tiles, to get some secret cards that will give you some really cool bonuses. You're going to other spots that'll give you these tiles that will give you ongoing bonuses. There's just so much to do in this game, but it's a race. So, as you're going, you each got a couple rubies, but once you guys get closer to the end, you're like, okay, I gotta figure out this in 2 moves, because they're gonna do it in 3. I can tell they need this and that and this. And it's just awesome. Everybody I've played with has liked this game and has wanted to play it again. It's
nice.
Such a good game. And I had kind of looked at this throughout the years, and someone had compared it to Yokohama, which I love and have. And so they said, oh no, Yokohama's better. But it is similar that you're kind of moving around that way, but it's a completely different game, I find. This is a race, and that you're just kind of collecting things and fulfilling objectives. Whereas this one's strictly a race, but it's awesome, and you got to try it. And that's my number 12, Istanbul.
Yeah, I've tried the dice game version, but I bought Istanbul now, so I own it, but I haven't tried it yet.
Oh yeah, that's good.
So I'm gonna have to. Great. So last one for this installment, and that's number 11. So my number 11 is Steampunk Rally. Steampunk Rally was created in 2015 by Oren Bishop. And I bought this game at FallCon auction, because you know how auctions goes for me. And this particular one was like a specialty one where the money raised for this particular game was being donated to the Children's Hospital through the Alberta Ghostbuster Association. So they had all like the Ghostbuster guys on the stage with this game, and then I ended up winning the bid. And then I have a picture with all of them as well on my Facebook page, but it was cool. And then the game that I bought was actually the Tesla edition as well. And then this game is amazing. So it's an engine building game where you're actually building an engine and racing it. And then you play as one of these big inventors of the world. So you could play as Marie Curie, you could play as Nikola Tesla, and then you like all these different characters you can play as. And then your character's going to have like the cockpit one, like where the character is, and then one of the engine thing. And then this is a card drafting game as well. So you get 4 different type of cards that you would draw, one of each, and then you look at all of them, and then you would pick one to keep. So either you're going to add this into your machine and add a new portion to your machine, or you're going to take the card to activate the top portion and collect dice and different and gear and stuff. So you would kind of do this, and then at the end build your machine with what you got, or collect the dice for what you've got. So you kind of do all this. Your machine's going to have these different places where you're going to put dice. And then yellow dice are electricity, red dice is like power, and then like white is steam, like kind of combustion and steam and stuff. So there's different ways that these machines are going to get activated. And then you would roll the dice you've collected, and then the number of pip that's on there is also going to affect. So it could be that you put a dice there, it doesn't matter what the pip is, this does that. And then, okay, good. It moves you forward by 1. Perfect. This one could be for every 2 pip you've played, you will move forward by 1. Great. Well, I rolled a 4, so I'll put that there. So now I move forward by 2. And then you kind of have your thing on this map that is different every time because it's modular. And then you move forward by 2 over there. And then you're doing all this. And then it's like, okay, well, now you're going through rough terrain, so you're taking some damage. And then you got to, on this dial that you keep track of the damage, but you've got this thing on the pit. Well, I'm going to play a card there which kind of smooths out that damage, so then I'm not going to I'd be okay on that side, or minimize my damage from 3 down to 1. And then you do all this stuff until like, okay, I've done everything I could with the dice I had and then what I've built on my machine. So then you're done. And everybody does this like at the same time, so you've moved forward in the race. Then you go into where you can use some of those gears, and the gears will allow you to vent your machine, because these dice you've added to your machine are cluttering your machine. You can't put another dice there until this has been taken out. Now, if you have any damage left, you're going to lose a chunk of your machine. So it's like, okay, great. Damn it. I'm going to lose this part, but that's okay. It was all cluttered with dice, so now I don't have to worry about cleaning that up. That's gone. Now this is what I have left to my machine. So kind of tweak it, and then you do the drafting again, and you add different things to your machine some more, collect more dice, and do all this again. And like with the gear, when you're venting your dice, one gear will vent 2 pips. So if you had a 6 die, you can turn it so that it's 4. But it's going to need to be vented a few times before that space is available again. It's neat. It is so fun. It is so fun. My kids loved it too, because it's so hands-on, and like the whole thing is great. Now they've now released Steampunk Rally Fusion, which introduces the fusion dice. I've got the game. I got it now. I haven't played it yet, so I have no idea what the fusion dice does. But the base game, the Rally, Steampunk Rally, is so amazing, as is anyways. So it's just so good. It's so fun, and that's my number 11, Steampunk Rally.
Yeah, this is a really good engine builder. Well, an engine destroying game too.
Yeah.
Because you have to do that. Awesome. All right. My number 11 is Ark Nova, made in 2021 by Matthias Wig. This one was a real hyped up game, and then quickly climbed its way up on the top of the charts in the Boardgame Geek Top 100. I'm not sure what it's at now, but I think it's in the top 10. And I think with reason. I really love this game. People had always talked about, it's like an animal version of Terraforming Mars. And I really liked Terraforming Mars. Didn't love the theme of it, of course. So put an animal zoo theme on it, and yes, please, I want to play this. It's awesome. You are building up a zoo, basically. And by doing that, you kind of build a little bit of an engine, but you are trying to get, and this might be the wrong term, reputation. And there's 2 tracks you're moving up. You are moving up. One is points, and I can't remember what it's called. And the other is, I'm going to say, reputation. And they are going to meet. So they are going opposite ways. And once they meet, that triggers the end of the game. And however much you have passed each other with those markers, that is your score. It's a longer game, like at least a 2-hour game, I'd say. Maybe 2 players, if they've played it a lot, could get it done, in an hour and a half, but it's typically a longer game. You are, like on your turn, you can do one thing, and you either use your worker, you only start with 1, I believe, and you can go to the spot to gather more, to gather a color of university, which will give you a discount on playing cards. You can gather these other things that'll give you other symbols that you might need in order to build cards. You also have this little player board in front of you where you're building your enclosure. So there's a tile laying aspect too, and they're all different shapes. They all have hexagon tiles, but some of them are all connected. And so you need to build enclosures for certain animals. You can also build like a petting zoo. And then you can put a bunch of animals in this like smaller spot, whereas you would normally need bigger spots. You can build a reptile building, and those you can put in a bunch there. As you're building these tiles, they will go on to different little symbols on your board, which will give you bonuses. Some will open up other spots that you're able to build or able to play certain things. And the whole action selection is really neat. It takes from Civilization, I think A New Dawn is what it's called.
Oh,
so
nice, yeah.
These card actions in front of you, and you have to choose which one you want. You can choose any, but they obviously go from left to right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the power of the card. So obviously the right side, whatever's there is the highest power, but you might really need to do that number 1 card. Well, you can gather these little tokens that can improve those actions. So there's ways of being able to improve it as well. And then as soon as you've done an action, you pull that card and it goes right back to number 1, and then everything slides down. So the action selection is so cool. I love it. There's so many cards in this game that I don't know that we've seen all the cards. I think I've played it probably 4 or 5 times now. And I don't think I've seen everything. And just how they will just combo off each other. Sometimes you'll have a hand of cards and nothing goes together, nothing relates. But then you just try to find a way to get more cards to figure out, or to increase your hand size so that you don't have to get rid of all these cards at the end of the round. It's such a neat game and so cool. Coming out with an expansion, and yes, this is one I'm gonna have to get because I really love this game. But that's my number 11, Ark Nova.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't played that one yet.
Oh yeah.
I think this was another one I was planning on playing at KefCon, but just didn't happen for me.
Just sign up for that one at some point.
Yeah,
for sure.
Nice.
Awesome. So that's our 20 to 11. Now next week we're doing our 10 to 1. The final
10 to 1, top 10. Yeah.
And
that's going to be like the best of the best.
Yeah,
Have we had any crossovers yet?
We've had a couple. I did circle a couple. Oh, well, one you don't know about yet.
Okay.
I think only one, actually. Oh
that's insane. 100 games, and there's one so far. Like you don't know what's in my last. You know what? I don't know that a lot of these will be on yours anyways. So
I just noticed another one. There's going to be another crossover, but
wow, yeah, we obviously have different favorites.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so next.
No, sorry, that wasn't even in our. I was looking
top
back
50.
at a different list. We might only have one crossover, I think.
That's insane. That is insane. Not funny.
But who knows? Maybe next we might.
I don't know. When I'm looking at my list,
and you don't think so.
I don't think these are going to be on yours.
No. That is funny that we're only going to maybe have one crossover. Wow. Cool.
We'll have to let us know, like, who are you guys on? Like, Team Melanie for list or Team Carla for list? Because there's 2 different lists. Completely. That's funny. Perfect. So, I guess before we call it over, mention our Discord. We have a Discord channel. So we'll add the link to the notes. Be sure to join us on that. I've really enjoyed the Discord and then the conversation that happens there. And Carla, where can we find you?
You can find me at Instagram, Board Game Specialist, all one word. And I have a Facebook page called Red Deer Board Game Fanatics. What about you, Mel?
So on Instagram, it's Mel's_boardgame_room. My Facebook page is Mel Board Game Room. And my YouTube channel is Mel's Board Game Room.
Awesome. Well, until next time, thanks for listening. Bye for now.
Bye. That one was